Welcome back to Hardwood Heroes. I'm Ashley Fry.
And I'm Andrew Bowlby. This is our last regular episode of the season before our hour-long finale next week, and we've got a lot to get through.
Yeah, we entered this week with 4 remaining tournament teams, but did we come out with 4? Well, we're about to tell you.
And starting with the Waterford girls, who have their eyes set on another state title. The Wildcats taking the court in Logan, facing Fisher Catholic, both undefeated in their respective conferences, and the winner to play either Berlin, Highland, or Green. Kendall Surrey with a miss early, but don't worry, Avery Wagner is there to clean it up. 2-0 Waterford. A couple plays later, and we'll see some Surrey redemption. She bangs in the wing jumper. Wildcats lead 10-2 early. Here we're going to see the Irish getting a triple to go from Charlie Gillum, but they weren't too lucky on the night, shooting 22% from the field. Wagner starts this play, and Surrey's going to finish it with another 3. She had 13 points on the night and led the Cats 25-7 at halftime. Hadley Gillum with the ball in her hands, and after a brief hesitation, pulls up and knocks down the 3. And here comes the exclamation point. Wagner back down low and playing patiently will wait for the layup. Waterford wins 51-22. Now, Waterford has once again hit another gear as tournament time rolls around, and it's all started with their vaunted defense. And joining us to break down the changes Coach Jerry Close and Waterford cooked up is reporter Charlie Ehlenfeld.
Thanks, Bowlby. You know, Waterford has paved the way with 3 commanding playoff wins with a full court press, and this is despite not running a press all year. Starting with Portsmouth Clay, Coach Close and Waterford began to experiment with the press.
Yeah, but we've seen different effects on each team they played.
For Clay and Notre Dame, it was turnovers aplenty. The Irish were not as plagued by turnovers as Notre Dame, but Waterford still managed to force 18.
But that was not the only factor working in favor of the Wildcats. They dominated on the glass, out-rebounding Fisher Catholic 27-16.
Yeah, talking to Avery Wagner, she said the plan from the beginning was to exploit the Irish's weakness on the glass, and exploit it they did.
Yeah, and now the Wildcats are preparing for a familiar foe, Berlin Highland.
Yeah, the Hawks took them to overtime in the regional finals last year, and Kendall Surrey said they're all too familiar with each other.
Yeah, all throughout season we knew Highland. We knew that we were going to probably see them again, which we are on Saturday. So we really know how we played last year against them. We were down in the second half, then we came out we were down in the first half, we came out in the second half really good. So we really know kind of the players really well. So I think that's an advantage for us, and also for.
So it's obvious that Waterford understands their opponent, but they've only played a couple of times.
Yeah, in the last decade, these teams have only played twice, a regional and a state final. Time for round 3. This rematch would be physical. The Hawks had 2 starters foul out, and both teams earned their points in the trenches. Like right here, Wagner, too tall for her defender, goes up and puts up the first points of the game under the hoop. Joplin Yoder struck right back, jab step, drive, spin, and good. These teams were trading blows in a back and forth first. Waterford began to pull away in the second. Malik gets the steal, and when she can't secure the bucket, there is Kendall Surrey ready for the rebound and the score. She had another sensational tournament performance. Wagner to Surrey, and the and 1. Wagner is fired up, and the Cats are up 10 at half. The Hawks found their footing from 3 in the second half. Here's Trisha Troyer draining at corner 3. Hawks still alive. Answering right back, Brindley Popmeyer hits a nasty spin move and count the bucket. Waterford ahead 38-21 after 3. Waterford searching for the dagger. Malik kicks to Surrey and bang! Waterford earns a hard-fought 50-34 regional final win. This is the Wildcats' second straight regional title, and it sends them to their 8th Final Four appearance in 11 years.
And now you just mentioned it, but what a performance by Kendall Surrey.
You said it. She plays at another level in March. We saw it last year. She scored from everywhere, and the Hawks had no answer.
And while we have seen plenty of her heroics from already, this may have been her first big tournament performance.
Now this Friday, Waterford gets another chance to earn a second straight state title appearance.
Yeah, we don't know who their opponent is just yet, but it could be a familiar foe in Fort Loramie. Thanks so much, Charlie. Keeping it in Division 7 in the same region as Waterford, the Trimble girls, they saw their season end last week.
Yeah, but it was another season of progress as they had an above 500 record for the first time in 3 years. And here to talk to us about that growth and what next season might look like is Trimble reporter Landon Levine.
Thanks, Ashley. This season was a step forward with a lot of returners next year. The Tomcats are trending up, but they will lose a couple seniors, including starter Abby Weber. Weber did it all for the Tomcats. She averaged 6 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals per game. On top of being a threat all over the floor on defense, every possession started in her hands as she kept the offense rolling.
Yeah, she was definitely a crucial part of Trimble's success this season. So how can the Tomcats look to fill her shoes?
So we saw Rylan Fout step into that role for a couple games, and she found success. But you may also see freshman Jessa Davis or Brooklyn Burdette take over as they both saw increased minutes down the stretch.
Yeah, so the girls have a lot to look forward to for sure, but from what we talked about throughout this season, it seems like the boys do as well.
They have a bit of a rebuild ahead, but the return of a backcourt trio that grew a lot this year. Starting off, a big name this season, Brady Jasek took a huge jump going from 10 points per game last year to 17 this season. And we gotta mention Luke Osborne. He was Jasek's right-hand man, consistently providing solid play on both ends of the court.
Yeah, and hand in hand with those two, a name we've started to hear a lot more this season is sophomore Hunter Brandenberry. So what role does he play with this team?
He didn't see much early playing time and didn't even make a shot in the first couple of games this season. But as the year progressed, he developed into a key starter and go-to guy behind the arc. You could see it in the stats. A couple threes in their first win against Fed Hawk and 5 3-pointers against Miller. When we talked to Brandenberry, he gave the credit to the trust his teammates placed in him.
It feels really good that these guys trust me. I feel like I've earned their trust over the beginning of the season. I mean, the first 5 or 6 games, I didn't hit a shot. And I mean, I've started to get going, and these guys have been trusting me more and more.
With all 3 expected to return next season, we can see big improvements from this Trimble squad.
Yeah, a lot to be excited about for both the boys and the girls. Thanks, Landon. Now, another thing you have to be excited about is more Hardwood Heroes social media content. While your favorite teams may be out of the tournament, that does not mean that you still don't have a place to get your TVC basketball fix. Check us out on Instagram, X, and Facebook all week long, and stay tuned for our finale content, which we will get to further in just a little bit. But for right now, we're looking at another one of our 4 teams who entered this week still alive in the tournament.
Yeah, the Eastern Eagles got a win over Waterford at home. Then they traveled to Jackson to take on the #1 seeded Beaver Eastern. And here to fill us in on the action is Eastern reporter Reagan Neal.
Guys, this is the first time Reidsville Eastern has made the district semifinal since 2013.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the accomplishments earlier last week, but they really found their stride towards the end of this season.
Yeah, after a 4-game losing streak in January, they won 8 of their last 9 games heading into the district semifinal, including 6 straight, starting with a 30-point win against Federal Hawking on February 4th. During this streak, they averaged 68 points a game, and you could see their confidence grow after every win. They filled in those missing pieces, and it was perfect time to turn on the Jets just before the playoffs. Let's get rolling. You know, senior Gavin Murphy came to play, showing his range from deep. That's an easy J for the big man. It looked like there was no stopping for Eastern, and at this point, Beaver Eastern looks stunned. The Eagles quickly gained a 21-2 lead in the first, but this wouldn't be the end of the story for Beaver. After a timeout, they got multiple stops and capitalized on them to close this lead. Here we're gonna see Beaver moving around. They're gonna fight for this rebound, and they're gonna work the ball up court in this last second shot by Tucker Least. And it's going to be bang, good. 23-11 at the end of the first. Jumping ahead to the second, Beaver Eastern found the groove. Look at this hustle play from Lice to keep possession. And on the next play, here he is again. Straight to the basket, call him DJ Cali because that's another one. Eastern only leading by 3 going into the third. It was a long comeback for Beaver, and they wouldn't get a lead until the fourth quarter. But with plays like these, it was safe to say they were still applying pressure offensively. Let's go ahead, skip ahead to 1 minute in the fourth. Beaver Eastern down a possession, moving the ball around, and that's Least again with the clutch 3 to take the lead. Eastern turned over the ball on the next possession, and with that painful mistake, they're going to end their season 66-62.
Yeah, so you just mentioned how Reidsville Eastern held a lead until the fourth quarter. So how did Beaver Eastern come back that late?
Well, Beaver Eastern battled hard till the buzzer, but Reidsville Eastern came out on fire, taking an 18-0 lead in the first 5 minutes of play. They're going to take advantage of that run and gun offense to stun Beaver. And it took a second for Beaver Eastern to settle in, but they would go on a 10-2 run ending the first quarter.
So is that where Beaver Eastern started to take the momentum?
Actually, Reidsville stayed in the lead up until the fourth, but Beaver kept it competitive, never letting Reidsville lead go above 14 and frequently cutting in single digits.
So when did Beaver actually make that comeback?
Well, once Beaver Eastern started pressing in the fourth quarter, it created some issues for the Eagles. Eastern began to turn over the ball and gave up some pretty easy baskets. Beaver took advantage, outscoring Reidsville Eastern 22-8 in the fourth, and this is the first time Beaver took the lead in the game. It was for the win. Even with the loss in the playoffs, this season was monumental for Eastern basketball. Head coach Greg Lloyd took a second to look back on how important this season was.
Where the intensity is up, you know, all eyes are on you, the lights are on. They've never really felt that winning streak, and they bought in, and that's real positive going into next year. Because, like I said, we only lose 2 players off this team.
The future in Reidsville looks promising, and with only 2 seniors leaving, they should be able to turn on the momentum and build on next year.
Yeah, sounds like they are ready. Thanks so much, Reagan. Now let's stay in the hockey. The last time we saw the Lady Lancers, they picked up their first district title since 1989.
Yeah, and now in the regional semifinals, standing in their way is a team they've seen before, the Harvest Prep Warriors. And joining us to talk about this matchup is Fed Hawk reporter Joshua Jacob.
Thanks, guys. Their first encounter ended with Harvest Prep picking up the win by 6 points in a highly contested game.
Yeah, but since then, the Lancers, they've been a really tough team to beat.
Yeah, after playing each other, the Lancers have gone on to win 8 of their 12 games. And while the Warriors only won 5 of their last 11, they did see some serious competition. Their opponents have had a combined 188-85 record during that time. Now let's get into this game. Fed Hawk starts with Brenly Cottrell weaving through the traffic, drawing all that defensive attention to find Rory Taylor wide open for 3 to cut the lead 7-6. Now, not to be outdone, Prep makes the space and finds Israel Smith in the corner to match it from behind the arc. This is where the Warriors start to get in a groove. Just look at this progression from Janae Carter. Drive in, spin, step back, fade away midi, and she sinks it, putting Harvest Prep up 31-28 at half. Now jumping to the fourth, the Warriors are padding that lead with Malia Lofton dotting up Carter for this easy transition layup. Now Fed Hawk is down 10 and needs something to put them back into this game. And Taylor Sneddon says, "Give me the ball, I got it." Now Prep wouldn't slow down, however. Carter returns the favor to Lofton and hits this smooth Euro and finishes with the left. And that would be the icing on the cake. Warriors take the win 71-56.
So Prep clearly had the size advantage in this one, but what else went into their win?
Well, it was a nice blend of height, playing fast, and just being the all-around more physical team. It won't show up on the stat sheet, but the way they hounded the ball forced the Lancers to take tough shots. Prep was able to hold Cottrell to 3 of 15 shooting on the floor, making her earn 11 of her 18 points at the line. Their ability to keep this pressure was a huge factor for the win.
So how did that physicality play out for offense?
They were strong in the paint, and if they missed, their size advantage got them second chance points down low. But in this one, the Warriors were able to consistently hit from behind the arc.
Yeah, so as we've said, Harvest Prep had a clear advantage in this one. So how was Fed Hawk able to hang in with them?
Well, in the physical game where they found themselves at the charity stripe, they were efficient, shooting 76%. But their downfall was being unable to stretch the floor, only making 4 threes as a team. This, alone with some cold stretches where Harvest Prep kept the Lancers scoreless, sealed the deal. At the end of the game, head coach Amos Cottrell spoke about the seniors and their leadership, and made sure to emphasize that making it to regionals is the new standard.
Thanked our seniors for all the time and effort that they put in, and we're going to be back. I mean, now this is the standard for our basketball team. We know what it takes now. We know the caliber of teams, and our schedule is going to be ready next year, so we're going to be here again.
With such a young team who's already getting all this experience, I think we can take coach's word for it.
Yeah, I think so as well, and we know Cottrell's great at coaching those young players. Thanks for the great work, Josh.
Yeah, so that's one great coach there, and at the helm of every great team is a great coach, and Nelsonville-York, they're no exception to that.
Yeah, joining us to talk about that guy for the Buckeyes is NY reporter Donovan Varney.
That's right, guys. Let's just say this gentleman is no stranger to the game of basketball. His varsity coaching resume includes 11 years at Alexander and 6 so far at NY. For those of you that don't know who I'm talking about, I'm going to take a step back and let the man introduce himself.
I introduce myself. I say I'm Blaine Gabriel. I'm from New Marshfield. I'm a different breed.
Now, whenever a team steps on the hardwood to face the Buckeyes, they need to prepare for Blaine Gabriel too. The veteran head coach graduated from Alexander High School in 1978 and went on to coach nearly 20 years in the district before leaving in 2013.
You know, I spent a lot of time out to Alexander, and I was out of it for, 6-7 years, and superintendent reached out and called and asked me if I was interested in coaching at Nelsonville. So I went to Nelsonville, and the first night of practice I came home, and I remember telling my wife that I don't know what I got into.
Gabriel was handed the keys to a program that hadn't had a winning season in 6 years. And now the Buckeyes just finished their 3rd straight season with at least 14 wins.
It's fun because I was able to take over a program that was kind of down and help build a foundation and get it back to where I think it should be.
And at the base of that foundation is fun.
I tell the kids they need to have fun. If it's not fun, it's like a job they shouldn't be playing.
One of the ways that Gabriel likes to have fun is with nicknames.
The last three years, the nickname thing has been really big because the kids don't feel like they're something until they get that nickname. Don't ask me why, but oh yeah, everybody wants that nickname.
The nicknames have become such a staple that his future players are getting a jump on what theirs will be.
I have junior high kids all the time coming to me wanting to know what their nickname is. I told them I don't know what their nickname is yet because I haven't been around them enough.
While the nicknames all differ, he reminds his players the same thing before every game.
You know, my saying is when we go out, let's go kick ass, take names. I've said that for 30 years. Even when I had my little bed leg, I tell those little kids, I said, guys, let's go kick butt and take names. As it got older, it went to ass, but yeah.
It's pretty obvious that Coach Gabriel has a really special connection with all of his players.
Yeah, absolutely. I reported with Donovan for NY last year, and I always loved the nicknames. So, Donovan, you've got to tell us more about these.
Yeah, we're going to get right into it. Gabriel's put a lot of thought into some of these. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these nicknames from the Nut House. We'll start things off with the rookie, but we know all too well he's a vet, junior guard Alec Thompson. And we can't forget rookie's right-hand man, Bryant Squirrel Call. The do-it-all forward may be graduating, but he's passing the torch on to none other than Grant Elliott. Like a Cobra, this freshman can strike from anywhere on the court. And next, we've got Landon Pitt Inman. The kid may have Pittsburgh ties, but he's also got that dog on the floor. And last but not least, this rising center chews away at defenses, Cameron Beaver Sullivan. And guys, that's just a sample size of the nicknames on this NY team. Coach loves it, the kids love it. This is just one of the ways Coach Gabriel is keeping things fun on the court.
Yeah, I'd say it's working pretty well after such a big season for them. Thanks so much, Donovan. So we're just 1 week away from the hour-long Hardwood Heroes Season 15 finale. And if you haven't heard us talk about it enough, we're going to talk about it a little more because me and Bobby are very excited.
Yeah, and I promise you don't want to miss it because we're going to announce our players and rising stars of the year for both the boys and the girls.
Yeah, plus we will have the reveal of our 2025 coaches and players of the year. And we can't forget about the Waterford girls heading to the state semifinal.
All right, so we're going to stay in the TVC Ohio, and this year the Athens boys finished with their best conference record since 2021, and the Bulldogs improved their win total from 4 last year up to 11 this season. And I've got reporter Katie Bailey here to talk a little bit more about this Athens team.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. This season marks one for growth for the Bulldogs, the first in the last few years. And now things are wrapped up, let's take a look back at some of those past seasons. 2021 was the last time Athens won the TVC Ohio with an undefeated 12-0 conference record. And the next year, the Bulldogs fell to third of the conference with a 6-6 record in TVC play. In 2023, the Bulldogs' overall record dropped, but they remained consistent in the conference with another 6 wins. After last year losing some seniors, Athens struggled to improve and wrap things up with only 4 wins from the TVC Ohio. But the Bulldogs were able to improve their record for the first time in 3 years this season.
Yeah, all season we've talked about the players that helped this team step up, but who can they count on next year?
Yeah, first one up is Weston Wheatley, who is the leading scorer for Athens with 11 points per game. And Zach Mullins has given the team a boost from outside the arc and will be one of their senior leaders next year. Freshman Colin Chapman has also burst onto the scene for Athens, putting up 8 points per game along with 2 assists and steals per game.
Yeah, so it sounds like the Bulldogs will keep up their improvement, but the region that they are in, it's a gauntlet come tournament time.
Yeah, after some division changes in the offseason, Athens finds themselves in a new Region 11 bracket, where they're playing tough teams like their first-round matchup, Marietta, who ended their season 17-5. The Tiger style of play is drastically different than the teams they saw this year and shows how fast-paced and strong these top team levels are. Teams like Warren, Chillicothe, and Miami Trace are all powerhouses in this region.
So looking at it from the outside, where does Athens fit into this mix?
Yeah, Athens really has to step up with these two teams to play at a different level when it comes to tournament time, something teams in the TVC would struggle with. But with some young talent, they find themselves consistency and to keep up with the Region 11.
Yeah, we'll see if they can find that rhythm for next year in tournament time. Thanks, Katie. Now, another team in our coverage looking to find some tournament rhythm is this offseason is Vinton County, and Ashley, you have more.
Yeah, guys, the VC girls suffered a similar fate to Athens this season, leaving the tournament in the first round. Obviously, not optimal circumstances, but the younger members of this team are ready to put in the work on the offseason. So here to break down with me a little bit more about VC's past and future is reporter Louis Marco.
Thanks, Ashley. It's been a roller coaster ride for the Lady Vikings over the last 5 seasons, but they've been on the rise in the last 2. Looking at the yearly records, the Vikings have been trending in the right direction after the 22-23 season. They gained 6 more wins last year and 4 more this year. You'll have to imagine they'll look to improve even further and compete for a conference title next year. This season was an overall success, and it wouldn't have happened without the team's underclassmen stepping up.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit more about the underclassmen that made impacts this season.
Players such as Alyssa Perry, Trinity Williams, Olive Booth, and Nora Martin took big leaps this year. They fit right in the Coach Jones' system, moving the ball around and creating more shot opportunities as a result. This led to the Vikings winning very close games early in the season and staying competitive while being outsized by the top teams in the conference.
Yeah, so having this many underclassmen step up in a single season, not only impressive, but usually for a reason.
Yeah, that underclassmen had to rise because the Vikings were without their leading scorer, junior guard Kylie Smith, who was out all year due to injury. Last year, Smith averaged 8.5 points per game and led the team with a near 38% field goal percentage. She was also persistent in the paint, serving as a defensive threat, averaging 2 steals a game. And Smith was an important rebounder, averaging 6.5 boards per game. Simply put, she was the heart and soul of the Lady Vikings last season. And head coach Brett Jones had this to say about her and her overall importance to the team.
But she's a special player, and I mean, we definitely missed her in just, in terms of experience and her, how athletic she is. We missed that.
And Coach Jones said that Smith has been doing non-contact drills recently. So with the return of her and key underclassmen, we'll see if they raise to a higher plane next year.
Yeah, with her back, we'll definitely have to wait and see what VC's season looks like after this. Thanks so much, Louie. Now, Bobby, I know you just sent it over to me, but I'm going to have to go ahead and give it back to you to break down our next Ohio team, and that is the Alexander Spartans.
Yeah, the Alexander Spartan boys had their season ended by Chesapeake last week, but don't be deceived by the difference in records. The Spartans competed in this game, and they gave the Panthers everything they could handle. And my friend Isabel Isco is here to recap the season the Spartans have had.
Well, the Spartans are done for the season. It has been nothing but a year of growth for the boys, but next year's team is going to look a lot different. The Spartan squad is losing 6 seniors, including some names you've heard a lot. Leading rebounder Isaac Waller, who averaged nearly 10 points and 9 rebounds. Mason Morris, Alexander's leading scorer that dropped over 11 points per game. And Claxton Hall, the all-around guy that stepped up in the clutch time and time again. No doubt these are big losses, but the future is still looking bright for Alexander.
Yeah, losing 5 seniors, that's never going to be easy, but who are we expecting to step up?
Won't be too hard because the younger squad is full of names we've heard all season. Juniors Noah Ray and Alex Bateman both have played key roles as guards. Sophomore Gabe Phelps is a defensive dog on the court. One more year, this guy's going to be trouble. And Jace Cooper, the freshman making waves across the TVC, he dominates the court in scoring and still has 3 more years to go.
Yeah, so there's lots of potential, not only from the players, but also from first-year head coach Jordan Hill.
Yeah, last season, Alexander was reeling from the loss of Kyler DiAgostino and won just a single game. This year, Hill's helped the team take a stride in the right direction. Compared to last year, they have won 6 more games, 3 more in conference play. The record doesn't entirely reflect the Spartans' growth, especially towards the end of the season, snagging 5 of their wins in the new year. Coach is proud of his first season, but the work isn't done yet.
But I think we had a good first year under our belt. We're trying to build a program, not a team. We're trying to build a program, junior high, all the way up into the high school ranks. So really pleased with how the first year went overall.
With how Coach turned it around during the season, just imagine the growth this team will see during the offseason.
Yeah, and Isabel, you've been a busy woman covering these Spartans all year long. Can't wait to see them in action next year. Thanks so much. Meigs boys out in Southeastern facing Hillsboro wearing their TVC Ohio undefeated shirts.
Yeah, these two had a common opponent this year in Vinton County, and both came away with identical wins by about 30 points.
First offensive trip for Meigs, and it's Carson Davis from his office. Meigs is off and running.
Yeah, and how about a quick response? Jack Howland in the mid-range J for Hillsboro.
And here we are seeing the Marauders' high-intensity defense, which was the key in this game to keep Meigs ahead. Plus, the Marauders were winning on the glass with 37 rebounds.
Yeah, but Hillsboro hung around Howland with another bucket. They only trailed 43-31 at the half.
And it was the third where Meigs started to stretch it out. Deep tray by Davis. He finished with 33.
Yeah, Reed Brenninger also had a big night for Meigs with 19 and 12. Meigs ends up running away with it and taking it 72-56. Now, after that game, Meigs head coach Ryan Davis said that was the best first quarter he'd seen out of his team in weeks.
Yeah, which that's momentum they needed, because after that win, they had to go down to the Convo and take on a dominant New Lexington team.
Yeah, and reporter Lucy Schaefer was at that game. And Lucy, this was absolutely one to remember.
Yeah, and on the big stage, no less. Sophomore Reed Brenninger told us it was a goal of his team to get to the Convo at the end of the year, and New Lex was there waiting for them. Now, the Panthers coming off a win against Circleville, 48-34. Seniors Isaiah Stevens and Bentley Hansen have led the charge all season, but it was Meigs in the driver's seat early. A 6-0 run with buckets from junior Carson Davis and Brenninger. New Lex stayed in it and closed out the first and second quarters down by just 4 points. Now, but after halftime, momentum started to shift in favor of the Panthers. They took their first lead of the game, 27-25, halfway through the third. But Meigs caught a 1-point lead to end the quarter with a huge buzzer beater from senior Dustin Vance, 35-34 Marauders. Score stayed neck and neck in slight favor of the Panthers until a crucial free throw from Davis tied the game at just 48 with 2 minutes to go. And the clock winded down with no points on either side. A last-minute effort for the Marauders was unsuccessful to take us into overtime. Sharpshooter Hansen with this first jumper, and that play would be a preview of the next couple of minutes. Meigs struggled to get those shots to fall, and New Lex took advantage with the rebounding you're seeing right here. Several missed opportunities again, and the Marauders continued to fall behind. They lose in a thriller, putting their historic season to an end, 60-53. Now, Davis and Brinegar combined for 41 points and 22 rebounds in this matchup. And on the other side, the Stevens brothers, between the two, 33 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists. This kind of performance is what New Lex will hope to bring to the regional semifinal against Maysville.
Yeah, so Davis and Brinegar, they combined for over 3/4 of their team's points. But who else stepped up for Meigs in this one?
Yeah, Dustin Vance played really well despite getting into a little bit of foul trouble there at the end. But overall, it was the lack of versatility that really was the problem. Now, we usually see contribution from all over Meigs' roster, but key players like Owen Tracy and Caden Dean were locked down by New Lex's defense.
Yeah, and because of this, Davis and Brinegar were counted on to make shots in high-pressure situations.
Yeah, I mean, they took 40 out of the team's 50 shot attempts, and that's an insane stat line. Speaking of high pressure, this is one of the closest games Meigs had to play all year. They haven't had to deal with those down-to-the-wire games very often. Now, on the other hand, New Lex plays in a strong MVL conference and learned how to stay composed in crunch time situations. The Marauders have beat their opponents by around 26 points per game all season, so again, not a lot of practice in those intense matchups, especially when they find themselves in a deficit.
Yeah, and you just mentioned that strong MVL conference. This was the Panthers' 3rd straight year playing in the Convo, opposed to a Meigs team playing for their first time in there. So what can the Marauders take away from this for the future?
Yeah, Coach Davis told us afterward he hopes this experience will just help the team grow, and that includes keeping calm in tight games like these. He said there's a lot of maturity to be developed in the offseason, but they fought to the end in this one. There's still lots to be proud of.
Their willingness to adapt and be coached and change some old habits, not just basketball-wise, but as people, school-wise, and it's been phenomenal.
Again, a tough loss for Meigs, but it'll be interesting to see how they pick things back up next season after losing 2 starters.
Yeah, well, I know we've said it all season long, but this really was a historic season for the Marauders. So I think if that was any tell, I'm very excited to see what they're going to do next time. Thanks, Lucy. So this week, we started with 4 teams, and now we're down to just 1 left in the tournament.
Yeah, but Ashley, it's a big one. Waterford is getting ready for a state semifinal against one of these 3 potential matchups.
Yeah, Waterford could potentially face a 24-3 Fort Loramie, who they already lost to in the state finals last year, so that could be a big rematch. They could also face a 25-2 Ottoville or a 23-4 Mogador.
So Waterford moves on to the state semis, and with that, we're going to move into our Heroes of the Week.
Yeah, and I definitely think that talking about Waterford is a perfect segue because our girls' Hero of the Week is a Wildcat that I'm sure you guys know very well by now.
Yeah, if you haven't already guessed, it's star guard Kendall Surrey.
Yeah, Surrey had 26 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in the Wildcats. 50-34 dominant win over Berlin Highland.
Yeah, Wagner gets a lot of attention on this team, but Coach Close has said Surrey is the best player on this group, and she proved that she deserves all this hype in this one.
Yeah, and for our boys' hero, another star player who continues to impress, it's big man Carson Davis.
Yeah, Carson Davis dropped 33 points, 7 rebounds, an assist, plus a steal in Meigs' win over Hillsborough.
Yeah, and Davis has been performing like this all season long. 33 points may seem like a lot, but really it's just another Tuesday for him.
And looking at these stats laid out, you can see just how crucial these two are to their respective teams.
Yeah, and these are teams that have dominated all season long as well. Simply put, Surrey and Davis have that dog in them.
Yeah, and with performances like these, they were an easy choice for this episode of our Heroes of the Week. Finale, it's next week. It's an hour long. We're announcing a lot of awards. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, we're both very excited. We'll also see Waterford play in the state semifinals, which is going to be a huge game. Make sure to check us out on social media all week long to stay up to date. And as always, we're reminding you to be heroic.